to the left. That's what I like. But at the same time, like, I don't get a ton of catch and shoot threes, so, take what you can get. But it was great, but I don't really care because we lost.
Caitlin, 37 minutes tonight. How do you feel coming out of that one? See the smile on your face. So.
The forces over time were one of the gutsiest individual performances of the young season. It's a rebound. She's been really acting. Clark backing up and dropping a three. This one here might have been a bit of a heat check as it was pressured, but that's. Clark thought about the three, circles around, fires away, and hits. Bare minimum you expect from a head coach is honesty, a straight answer, a moment of real accountability. What the fans got instead was a masterclass in saying absolutely nothing at.
Rebound, she's been really active. Clark backing up and dropping a three.
This one here might have been a bit of a heat check as it was pressured, but that's
Clark thought about the three, circles around, fires away, and hits!
She used every safe, recycled phrase a coach pulls out when they do not want to admit what just happened. And what just happened was bad. Really bad. The kind of bad that does not get washed away with a clever quote and a tight-lipped smile. Stick with me here, because this story goes much deeper than one loss.
When we don't consistently defend. Again, and this is on us as coaches. Like, this is our responsibility. We got to be disciplined the entire game. We got to be disciplined every possession. We're taking chances. We're fouling shooters who are about to shoot tough shots. We got breakdowns in coverage.
Honor, Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, and Sydney Carlson all brought in specifically to surround Caitlin Clark with the kind of grown woman support she desperately needed last year. The pieces on paper looked beautiful. The home crowd showed up loud and electric, packing the building the way they have every single night since Clark arrived. And for stretches of that game, the Fever looked exactly like the team everyone had hyped them up to be. Then the second quarter happened. Indiana scored just 9 points in that quarter. 9. The Mystics.
Moments and worst.
I think a lot of things. One, intensity. I think attention to detail. It's little things. It's initial positioning. It's communication. It's reacting. It's relaxing off the ball. There are a lot of things that are outside of, and great players make great plays. And the thing that Washington does is they keep moving.
Then came the quote that lit social media on fire. A reporter asked Clark how she felt coming off such a monster individual night. 32 points, 7 threes. A fourth quarter for the ages where she single-handedly clawed her team back into the game. Clark did not even pretend to enjoy the question. She said, and I quote, "That was great, but she did not really care because they lost." That was it. No spin, no fake smile, no polished athlete speak. Just the cold, flat truth of a competitor who has already moved past her own brilliance because her team did not get the win. That single sentence might be the most important thing said all night because it told you everything about who Caitlin Clark is and everything about what kind of pressure she is silently absorbing every single game. But here is the part that does not get talked about enough. While Clark is carrying that weight, the roster around her is being deployed in ways that genuinely defy logic. Monique Billings logged heavy minutes as the backup big and finished with 10 points and 9 rebounds. Respectable numbers in a vacuum. But in context, with Washington's front court running wild inside, the rotation patterns made no sense. Why was Boston repeatedly stretched away from the rim? Why were defensive switches leaving smaller guards isolated on Mystics bigs in the post? Why did the team wait until the fourth quarter to actually run sets that generate a clean look for Clark coming off screens going left, which is, by the way, exactly where she is most dangerous? These are not nitpicks. These are the basic strategic questions that should have been answered months ago in training camp. Instead, they're still being workshopped live on national broadcasts in front of sellout crowds. The front office is not innocent in this either. There were obvious holes on this roster from a moment free agency closed. Everyone who watched this team last season knew that interior defense and a true rim protector were the missing pieces. Brought in veterans. They brought in shooters. They brought in playoff experience. But they did not bring in the one thing that mattered most. which is a certified rim protector who can erase mistakes when the perimeter defense breaks down. And the perimeter defense is breaking down a lot. So now you have a roster missing its most critical piece, a coach who cannot seem to mask that weakness with scheme, and a superstar guard being asked to outscore every defensive failure her team commits. That math does not work. Not over an 82-plus game grind. Not in the playoffs. Not against the Aces or the Liberty or anyone with a real interior presence. This is where the conversation turns toward the future, and it is not a comfortable conversation. The Fever are early in their season, sitting at 1-2, and already the cracks are showing. Stephen A. Smith has weighed in on national television. Beat reporters who have covered this team for years are starting to use phrases like coaching malpractice their columns. Fans, and not just angry ones online, are openly asking whether Stephanie White is the right person to lead this group through a championship window that may never be this wide open again. Comparisons to the previous coaching staff are surfacing, and that is a brutal place to be. Because the previous staff was widely viewed as not ready for the moment. If your current setup is now being compared unfavorably to a regime that was already considered insufficient, you are in trouble. The honeymoon is over. The patience is gone, and there's a real tangible cost if this does not get fixed. The WNBA playoff race is going to be a knife fight this year. Every game matters. Every home loss is a brick to Fever are stacking against their own postseason chances. Imagine just for a second the media firestorm that would erupt if Caitlin Clark misses the playoffs entirely. Imagine the talking heads, the takes, the headlines, the endless dissection of what went wrong. The league cannot afford that scenario. The franchise certainly cannot. And yet, at this moment, the team is operating like it has not fully grasped how thin the margin actually is. You do not get many seasons with a player like Clark in her prime. You do not get many windows where the entire sports world is watching your home games. Wasting any of that, even one game of it, is a sin in this league. And what makes the situation more painful is that the players themselves seem to know exactly what is wrong. You could hear it in Clark's voice. You could see it in the body language on the bench. There is a quiet awareness inside that locker room that something has to change, and soon, whether that change comes in the form of a different rotation, a different defensive philosophy, a different starting lineup, or eventually a different voice at the top remains to be seen. But the status quo cannot hold. Not with this much talent, not with this much expectation, not with this much money and media attention pouring into the building every single night. There is one more thing worth pointing out, and it is a detail that often gets lost in the noise. The fans in Indianapolis have done absolutely nothing wrong. They show up. They scream. They sell out every seat. They turn that arena into one of the loudest environments in the league. Clark herself, in that same post-game appearance, made a point to thank them for being the reason the team had any energy left in the fourth quarter. The fans are not the problem. The roster is talented enough to be the problem solvers. The coaching seat is where the answers have to come from, and right now, those answers are missing. You can scheme around a missing rim protector. You can hide weak defenders. You can build offensive sets that create high-percentage looks. Good coaches do that every single night in this league. The question Indiana has to answer, and answer fast, is whether they currently have a coach capable of doing it. So where does this leave us? It leaves us with superstar guard playing the best basketball of her career and still walking away from games without joy. It leaves us with a roster full of veterans who look disconnected and frustrated. It leaves us with a head coach whose press conferences are starting to feel like exercises in avoidance rather than leadership. It leaves us with a fan base that is one or two more bad losses away from full revolt. And it leaves us with a front office that is going to have to make some genuinely uncomfortable decisions if the trajectory does not change very quickly. None of this is fixed by a single good win. None of it is fixed by a clever post-game quote. It only gets fixed by accountability, by adjustments, and by the kind of clear-eyed honesty that, so far this season, only the 24-year-old point guard seems willing to offer. Here is the bigger question worth sitting with. What does it say about a franchise when the player is leading the coach instead of the other way around? What does it say about the locker room when the youngest star is the one delivering the hard truths while the veteran head coach hides behind buzzwords? And what does it say about the league as a whole when its single biggest commercial draw is being asked to carry not only the offense, not only the brand, not only the ratings, but the emotional weight of an entire organization that does not seem fully prepared for the moment has been handed? Those are not small questions. Those are franchise-defining questions. And the answers are going to start writing themselves over the next handful of games, whether anyone in that building is ready for them or not. Before we wrap this up, I want to hear from you because, honestly, this conversation only gets better when you jump in. Do you think Stephanie White is losing the locker room, or are the players the ones failing to bring the effort when shots are not falling? Is the front office to blame for not adding a real rim protector, or is the scheme the bigger issue, and the big one, if this slide continues? How long before the Fever are forced into a coaching change they clearly were not planning on making? Drop your most honest take in the comments. The unfiltered ones. The ones you would not say on television. I read every single one, and the best comments usually end up shaping the next breakdown. If this video gave you something to think about, do me a favor and smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you do not miss the next deep dive. There is a lot more stories still to unfold this season, and trust me, you're gonna want to be here when it does. Until next time, keep watching, keep questioning, and keep demanding better basketball. Because the players on that floor are giving everything they have. The least the people running the show can do is meet them halfway.